Welcome back to day 8 of the Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, coming to you live from outside the Endler Hall. This is the live stream for the 8th evening concert, the first of the 3 student orchestral concerts that crown the SICMF. It's been a wet and windy day here in Stellenbosch, but in spite of that, a lot of warmth here inside the conservatorium. We've had 2 student ensemble concerts earlier this afternoon, and faculty conductor Julien Benichou led a masterclass at 3 p.m. with conducting students Jacobus de Jager, Shavonna Pleikis, and Jason Atherton. And in a surprise turn of events, I have just emerged from the Janusz Hall, where I was having a more detailed conversation with Brent Reynolds, logistics manager and my co-host on these live streams. But I must assure you that you did get to hear it here first when I chatted to Brent on Monday evening. Neither of us much enjoys being the center of attention, but someone who does, and with good reason, is faculty double bassist Knut Erik Sundquist, who opened up last night's faculty concert with the fiendish Tarantella by Giovanni Bottesini.
Isn't it nice, huh? Such a beautiful thing. So I heard this, and it was not very cool at all. It was sort of none of my friends liked it, only me. I said, listen to this, it's great. And they said, ah. And there was on this record, there was a record I bought. And it said on the cover of the record that this guy who played was teaching at the academy in Vienna in Austria. So I thought, okay, I'll go there to learn how to do these things. And I did. And now I can do it. Because I was playing, before I heard this, I was playing sort of. I'm very sorry about this. They did not know. Please not start yet. I was talking about what I was playing before I moved to Vienna. And that sounded like this. Don't stop. That was how good I was. That was my limit. When it came to everything, the speed, everything, I could not play faster, I could not play better. So I heard this thing on the same record as the Elegia. It was a thing called Tarantella. And the Tarantella, I listened to it and I thought, no, that's not possible. You cannot do that. It's not a bass. It cannot be a bass. It must be something else, something, I don't know. But it was a bass, unfortunately. So now we're going to try to play the Tarantella for you. Are you ready, orchestra? Are we good? Let's take it away.
You play.
masterful bass playing by Knut Erik Sundquist from Norway in last night's faculty concert. On the program tonight are Mozart, Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff, three of the big names in orchestral music. Rebecca Tong will be conducting the program comprising Mozart's Marriage of Figaro Overture, which will be followed by Tchaikovsky's popular Violin Concerto with Andrey Baranov, soloist. And in the second half, we hear Rachmaninoff's glorious Symphonic Dances, the last major work that he wrote. And so the conservatorium here is filling up with a very different audience from previous nights, friends and family of the students, members of the public who are here to hear the festival symphony orchestra. Over to my co-host, Brent.
Hi, thanks so much, John. I'm standing down in the foyer, and the foyer is packed, everyone arriving for the concert this evening. There's actually a queue of people still waiting to get tickets, so we hope that everyone's going to be able to get a seat, but we can be assured of a jam-packed Endler Hall this evening. The orchestra members are heading down backstage to take their places on stage before the start of the concert. I've caught up here with one of our participants, Isihle. She's playing in FSO and you're playing in the second half of the concert. What has this process been like, the week of orchestra rehearsals, and what are you most excited about in tonight's program?
It's been quite an exciting process. The week was very tiring. I was extremely finished after the second rehearsal, but it was lots of fun. It's such a privilege working with Rebecca. She's such a great conductor. And you can tell that she pays attention to all of the sections. And it's really great to feel as if the conductor's connecting with you, because a lot of the time conductors love to work with strings, but as a wind player, I definitely felt as if she was putting in as much effort for us. So it was really exciting.
And I attended some of the rehearsals, and I was absolutely astounded at the level of energy she brings to each rehearsal from 9 o'clock on the dot until the rehearsal ends at 12 o'clock. I mean, that must have been super inspiring for you as players.
Definitely. Sometimes you think that you're awake, and then you look at her and she's jumping up and down, and then you realize, oh, actually, I need to wake up for this rehearsal. Because, I mean, it is 9 in the morning, so, I mean, half of us are still asleep. But, yeah, it's so much fun.
That's really great. And this is the first, as we know, female conductor that we have at the festival this year. Have you performed under a female conductor before, and what has that been like? What has that meant for you?
I've never performed under a female conductor, so it's very motivating and refreshing to see someone that, is similar to me, and to just have a new type of energy, because a lot of the time it is, sorry to be a bit stereotypical, but older men that are conducting us. So to have this different energy and someone that understands our generation a bit more, it's very refreshing.
Absolutely, and the week has been absolutely packed with rehearsals every single day. You're playing in the second half of the concert. What can we expect in the second half, and what is your favorite moment in it's the Rachmaninoff Symphonic Dances that we're expecting. What's your favorite moment in what we can expect?
My favorite moment has to be the ending with the gong. I'm sure everyone's just gonna go insane. The work is really difficult and the orchestra does a great job, and I'm sure everyone's going to absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm very excited for the second one.
Absolutely, and I think you can look forward to performing this again on Sunday afternoon. So, John, we had an amazing chat as well, you and I, earlier about all the different aspects of this festival. I want to touch on one other thing as well, is the storytelling element that has come through in in a number of the concerts with the commissioned work this year, telling the story of Tina Shao, as well as the work we had yesterday with Dizuplaikis performing. Have all these elements, what have they meant to you to have all these interesting elements to think about?
Well, it's very, very different from what I'm used to within chamber music and orchestra music. It was very interesting to have Dizuplaikis perform here, because I don't think that's ever been done at the festival, let alone at any festival. So I think it's very refreshing to have different instruments be performed here at the festival, and for classical musicians to see these different instruments, because a lot of the time I think, especially as young people, we don't understand how much there is within music. So to understand the crossing of African music in classical music, it's really incredible to see that. And to also see the actual composers right here working with the performers. It's really incredible.
Absolutely, that was really an impressive element last night to see that on stage. John, the bells are ringing and I can see the audience members heading up to the hall. I think I should head back to you so that we can be sure to get a spot in the Endler Hall.
Thank you so much, Brent. I'm really going to miss these chats over the coming days when the festival has come to an end, and really wonderful to hear such authentic insight and inputs from one of the student participants there. And indeed, I'm also very excited to see Rebecca Tong on the stage this evening on the podium. She really is such a bundle of vibrancy and energy, and so good to hear that she's such a motivating influence for our young, especially female participants in this year's SICMF. So, to tonight's program, the first of this festival's orchestral concerts kicks off with the overture from the opera The Marriage of Figaro by Mozart. The libretto itself is based on a comedy that was considered scandalous at the time, and the plot deals with the marriage of the servants Figaro and Susanna in spite of the relentless amorous pursuit of Susanna by their employer, the Count. Now, when the playwright read excerpts of this play to Franz II, the Emperor of Austria, the reaction was antagonistic. The play was essentially a daring indictment of class politics and hence political dynamite. Franz II warned the playwright that the play would be banned, which the Austrian censor saw to, but that didn't curb its popularity, and with Franz II's own wife reportedly attending a secret performance. The play was all the rage in Paris and was a contributor to the general anti-aristocratic sentiment that led to revolution 5 years later. Mozart himself proposed an opera based on the play to Franz II with the proviso that it would be purged of all this politically inflammatory material. The emperor agreed, and Mozart commissioned a librettist named Lorenzo da Ponte with creating a politically sanitized libretto. The 1786 premiere was a hit with audiences and the court alike, and Da Ponte and Mozart, one of the great artistic partnerships of Western music, would team up again to create Don Giovanni and Così fan tutte. While I head inside the hall, here is a beautiful melody now by Tchaikovsky, his Andante cantabile for cello and strings, played by Boris Andrianov and conducted by Shivona Plaikis, from last night's faculty concert. Welcome back to the Endler Hall, and boom! Have you ever seen so many musicians, so many young musicians on the stage? This is the Festival Symphony Orchestra of the 2023 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. And what a really warming sight it is for the heart to think all these young musicians, driven by their passion, their enthusiasm. They've had a very intense week of rehearsals, and you might have heard my chat with Brent a little bit earlier. They've been rehearsing from 9 to 12 on some days in the morning, not PM, although I have no doubt late night rehearsals have been going on as well behind the scenes. But it must be so gratifying for all these students finally to be on stage and to be presenting this wonderful music to family, friends, the public, and you. From wherever you're listening from, please drop us a line in the comments. Where are you listening from? What are you most looking forward to tonight? It's a fantastic program of masterworks of the orchestral repertoire from Mozart, of course a great symphonic and operatic composer, his Overture to the Marriage of Figaro, one of his most popular operas, and then the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto, one of the 6 great violin concertos in the repertoire. I won't try to list the remaining 5, I'll probably forget one. I suppose I could. Tchaikovsky, Sibelius, Brahms, Beethoven, Mendelssohn, and who's next? There's the 6th one I'm missing. You can write in and tell me, drop a line in the comments. And that'll feature faculty artist Andrey Baranov as soloist, and then after the interval, the monumental Symphonic Dances by Rachmaninoff. I've been telling you this is a big Rachmaninoff year, 150 years since his birth, and we've been celebrating that with various works throughout the festival, culminating in this last great symphonic work of his tonight, which really draws on his symphonies, his all-night vigil, kind of a retrospective in a way, a real highlights package, and the only work he wrote completely while he was in America as well, right towards the end of his life. Of course, he was born in Russia, but spent the last few decades of his life in America, touring, conducting, performing. He really struggled to find this balance between conducting, composing, and performing. He had these enormous hands. He would often give the premiere of his works like his 2nd piano concerto, his 3rd piano concerto, the Rhapsody and the theme of Paganini, those great works that here in Cape Town we heard at our Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra just last month. So that's what you can expect tonight: Mozart, Tchaikovsky, and Rachmaninoff on the program. Coming to you live from the Endler Hall in Stellenbosch, the 3rd last night of the Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival 2023. Folks still leading in here. The foyer was very full, even when I came in at 3 minutes to 8. And it does take time for everyone to take their places. And indeed, as I warned you last night, the stage tonight would be absolutely filled to capacity with performers. Look at all those string players, the brass and the winds, a nice percussion section at the back there. I see the performers aren't out quite yet, but no doubt there will be, and we've got the tam-tam making its crash, boom, bang towards the end of the Symphonic Dances in the second half. So quite a nice build-up of orchestral colour as well, starting with the lighter colours of Mozart, the Overture to the Marriage of Figaro, and then a little bit more sort of romantic full-bloodedness in that Tchaikovsky concerto, which is in 3 movements, and that lovely tripping canzonetta in the 2nd movement, and then that very sort of quick and dance-like rhapsodic finale, and then a real showpiece for the orchestra, the Symphonic Dances in the second half. So a chronological program as well tonight, moving from the 18th century through to the middle of the 20th. I'll now start by reading all the names of the players to you. I think that'll give us about 5 minutes. Just kidding. But please do visit the festival website, where you can read all about the faculty artists, many of the musicians. The lights are dimming, which means that our faculty conductor, Rebecca Tong, must be coming onto the stage any moment, and she's been a real hit with the students this year. The first female conductor we've had here at the SICMF, long overdue, but important, especially in such a male-dominated field. One thinks of Maren Alsop, one of very few female conductors who comes to mind. So it's very good to have Rebecca Tong with us and her very positive and motivating influence. And there our leader tonight is guiding the orchestra through their tuning. And it's really exciting, as someone who's been here for every night of the festival, to see so many familiar faces in the orchestra. Students who've been participating in some of the evening concerts, in the master classes. So many of the stars of tomorrow are here tonight. And yes, some empty seats still for some of the brass, the percussion, who will be joining us a little bit later, because back in the late 18th century, Mozart wrote for much smaller forces. There's Rebecca Tong coming on stage, greeting the first violinist, the leader, taking a bow. And here then is the Marriage of Figaro Overture by Mozart, kicking off tonight's evening concert. and a rousing start to this evening's concert. Unmistakable Mozart, his overture to the opera The Marriage of Figaro. And there we heard the Festival Symphony Orchestra conducted by Rebecca Tong. Real dynamic energy there, and what a fantastic start to tonight's program. And we move now to Tchaikovsky, famous, of course, for his gift for melodies and orchestration, the way he uses the instruments, the color he brings to his writing. I'm a huge fan of his symphonies, especially the last four. We're lucky that we get to hear them in Cape Town here with our Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra fairly frequently. But tonight we get to hear his Violin Concerto, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, regarded as one of the 6 great concertos in the repertoire, along with Sibelius, Beethoven, Brahms, Mendelssohn, and thank you, Nico, for pointing out Bruch was the one I'd left out a little bit earlier. And you'll see we've been joined by some extra forces. It looks like some extra winds and brass for this work tonight, because of course Tchaikovsky writing a little bit later, a little bit of a fuller orchestral sound, more forces at his disposal. Joanna, our first violin, leading the orchestra now in their tuning, because we have some new members joining, before Andrey Baranov, our soloist, joins us on the stage. Like all textbook concertos, this one is in 3 movements. You'll almost certainly recognize all of the movements because, like his ballet scores, these melodies have just entered popular imagination. So the first movement, and then we have is quite an energetic one, beautiful melody in the violin, the main melody, the main theme, and then this wonderful canzonetta, this very dreamy second movement, and then a very kind of rhapsodic final movement that can't quite decide where it's going. You'll notice poses great technical challenges for both the violinist and the orchestra. The ensemble and keeping everyone together is going to be a bit of a challenge in that final movement. Rebecca has her work cut out for her. If you've just joined us, we're coming to you live from the Endler Hall in Stellenbosch. The orchestra waiting expectantly, and there they are for the soloist, Andrey Baranov, visiting faculty violinist, greeting the leader, together with Rebecca Tong, the conductor, in this performance of the Violin Concerto by Tchaikovsky, played by the Festival Symphony Orchestra here at the SICMF 2023. Well, I don't really know what to say, but what a thrilling, breathtaking, and simultaneously sensitive, exquisitely played and measured performance of the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. What a treat for the students to play with such a master of the instrument like Andrey Baranov, our visiting soloist there, and Rebecca Tong. Gosh, talk about a dance and bringing life out of the music. We know Tchaikovsky is great with rhythm and melodies, but it was just given such, I guess, four-dimensionality in that performance. Wonderful ensemble, brilliant playing and expression by these young student musicians, and all brought together by our soloist Andrey Baranov and visiting faculty conductor Rebecca Tong. What a treat. And there are going to be lots of stories and sharing of inner experiences during the interval now. And I hope you can feel coming through to you the energy, the stamping of the feet. Mr. Baranov is not going to get off lightly. Well, you heard the applause after the first movement already. Thank goodness Tchaikovsky didn't include a gap between the second and the third one. No moment for an interruption. Looks like we get an encore.
So wonderful week for me, for all the musicians here, for all students. I'm sure it's really treasure and really big luck to have a festival like this here in Stellenbosch or anywhere. So thank you so much to all fantastic, so friendly, so welcoming, so fantastic musicians, also the organizers of this wonderful festival. It's been a really honor and super pleasure to be here with you, with all great musicians. And thank you, wonderful young people, young musicians. You did really fantastic work and it was big pleasure to play Tchaikovsky. Thank you. Digestive.
Not sure anything could top the Tchaikovsky, but I guess a bit of Paganini helps. Helps us to recover his final caprice, number 24. I'm sure you recognize that because, of course, Rachmaninoff takes that as the great theme for his Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini, and we'll hear Rachmaninoff in his Symphonic Dances in the second half. So the perfect segue. Andrey Baranov, you heard him here at the Elmore Hall, coming to you live from Stellenbosch for the SICMF 2023. What a treat. And just to reflect, it's hard to imagine that Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto had such a mixed reaction at its 1881 premiere in Vienna. It's become such a staple of the repertoire, as is often the case with musical history. It's just very strange when these pieces aren't immediately recognized for the genius and value they bring to the genre at the time. But what a treat, the Festival Symphony Orchestra under Rebecca Tong, Andrey Baranov in that performance of Tchaikovsky. I'm going to chat to a bassoonist now, so don't go too far away, but grab a drink, join me in the foyer, and then we'll be back for Rachmaninoff a bit later. and welcome back. Perhaps you're still catching your breath after that remarkable Mozart, Tchaikovsky and Paganini digestif. Well, something a little different now. I've been wanting a wind player for some time. I had Yao a few evenings ago. We heard about the clarinet, but I'm very privileged this evening to have faculty bassoonist Joshua Elmore with me. Joshua, thank you for making time. This is your last night here in South Africa, and so very grateful we got to catch you. A few words of introduction. He's principal bassoonist of the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra and has performed with many orchestras around the United States. He studied at the Coburn School in LA and is a graduate of Juilliard, where he appeared often as principal bassoon of the Juilliard Orchestra. Joshua was a fellow at the Tanglewood Music Center, the Music Academy of the West, and the National Orchestra Institute, where he recorded a Grammy-winning orchestral album with Naxos, or Grammy-nominated, I should say. Was it winning?
It was nominated.
Not that time around. Originally from Cleveland, he has received a host of awards and just last year served as the principal bassoon for the Gateways Music Festival for their Carnegie Hall debut as the first all-African American orchestra to perform at Carnegie Hall. Joshua, thank you for joining me now.
Of course.
Just a casual chat. Your first time here at Stellenbosch Chamber Music Festival.
Yes, it is.
What have your impressions been? How's the week been?
It's an incredible festival with incredibly devoted and, eager to learn students. I think it's always great to work with people that enjoy the knowledge that you have to share. In South Africa, from my understanding, is that students aren't always exposed to great artistic merit and great artistic, musicians coming in and working with the students. So for me, being here and being able to work with the students is incredible.
Well, it's a great honor for us as well. I wonder if you could reflect on why you think there is that appetite from the students to learn. Is it the great artistry they're surrounded by and they just kind of get inspired? Do you think it's also maybe because, I guess there's never enough funding for the arts anywhere, and so people are just hungry for whatever they can get?
I think it's a mixture of everything. I think being here at this festival with the world-renowned faculty is really inspiring for them. I think being around each other is very inspiring. They might learn something from one another, which I always think is great when you learn something from a colleague of yours.
That's a great point. And the friendships and relationships as well that will last and endure.
And last throughout their careers. They never know when they might encounter somebody that they met here this summer at Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, 20 years down the line.
Reflecting then a bit on your role as faculty bassoonist here, quickly your relationship with that instrument, how did it begin? Because with the greatest of respect, the bassoon is a little unusual. It's not the violin or cello, which typically commands these big concertos.
Of course. Well, funny enough, I started out playing the violin.
Okay.
And I quickly realized that wasn't quite what I needed in my life.
Yes.
So I then switched over to the clarinet. I played clarinet for a little bit and also didn't really take to it like I had thought that I would. And eventually...
And how old were you at this time?
I was around 6th grade.
Okay, right.
So about 11 or 12. And the band director at my school at the time approached me and he said, would you be interested in playing the bassoon? And at that time, I had no idea what the bassoon was. And I said, sure, it looks cool. It has a cool sound. Maybe I'll really enjoy this.
Take to it, yes.
Exactly. And I took to it and I've been playing it ever since.
Never look back.
Yes.
What is it that you enjoy about the instrument? Are you able to articulate it?
I really enjoy the sound and its role inside of the orchestra. As you had mentioned, the bassoon is not a common instrument, and I think many people don't really know what the bassoon is capable of. And I love being able to express myself musically and use the bassoon as a voice to, express how I'm feeling, express what I think the music is trying to say.
So do you see yourself as kind of an advocate for the bassoon in a way, really
absolutely,
flying the flag,
absolutely.
making the case for the bassoon? Is there, and you have to forgive me, but not very much bassoon repertoire immediately comes to mind. Are there some hidden gems we could perhaps listen out for and should be aware of?
Yes, the Mozart Bassoon Concerto is of utmost importance in the bassoon repertory. The Weber Bassoon Concerto.
Right.
He wrote a lot of clarinet things, but he also did write a bassoon concerto, and it's also a staple of our repertoire. Saint-Saëns' last piece that he ever wrote was actually his bassoon sonata.
Is that so? Gosh.
Yes, so there's many different pieces that the bassoon is featured in, and I think just listening in the orchestra very closely, you'll notice that the bassoon has a lot of very interesting parts.
Indeed. Do you know offhand what the bassoon part is like for the symphonic dances that we're going to be hearing
The
now?
symphonic dances, it's really within the cello and the bass family as far as the parts that it's playing, but it also comes out of the texture in a very melodic and musical way as well.
Right. Good. Well, we'll listen out for that just now.
Yes, absolutely.
As a teacher now, with your teaching hat on, are there particular aspects of your musical philosophy you've been able to impart to the students while you've been here?
Yes, of course. I think it's really important as wind players to be connected with our air. It's the same way that string players are very connected to their bow in their right hand, and that connection to the left hand and what the fingers are doing. It's the same with us. Our air is our bow. So being able to use that as a tool to express what we're trying to get at, I think is really important. And I've been able to share that with all the students that I've worked with for this.
And there's a lot of sort of crossover, I guess, with other wind instruments,
Yes.
with other string instruments. I mean, great analogy there between the bow and the breath.
Exactly.
So I guess you've been able to interact with non-bassoonists, non-wind players as well,
Yes.
and make very sort of insightful suggestions
Yes,
to them.
and I think it's applicable for everybody. I think really being connected to the way that we make the sound is of utmost importance.
And then on the stage as a performer this week for these marvelous faculty concerts, one or two highlights that really stand out for you from those, either as performer or listener for that matter.
I think listening, what really struck me was, I was actually in the orchestra, but most of the time I wasn't playing. But it was the piece by Michaela that featured the speaker telling her story, and I think, music is an oral way to tell a story. So I think being able to connect those two things, vocal storytelling and musical storytelling, is really profound.
Indeed.
And the Mother Goose Suite arrangement, that, Mother Goose is such a beautiful piece, and that also intertwines with this idea of storytelling. It's about fairy tales for children, but, music has a way of being able to tell a story without using words.
Absolutely, and these wonderful washes of romantic and impressionistic color that Ravel creates.
Exactly.
Such a gift for orchestration he had. But I'm very glad you mentioned the aspect of storytelling, and I think that's so important here at the SICMF, the way they commission South Africans to write these pieces that preserve these stories that might otherwise be lost or go untold, especially as we emerge from a very difficult time in our history. Maybe not as much healing and reconciliation has happened as we would like. And something like that performance on Monday can go a long way to reminding of us of our common humanity.
Absolutely.
Your year, how is the rest of that looking? Do you have a very busy lineup of performances, teaching?
Coming up, I have a couple of things for the rest of the summer, but I'm really trying to take a break. It's been a long season in Fort Worth, so it's nice to be able to relax a little bit.
What were some of those highlights from that season?
Actually, I played my concerto debut with the orchestra. I played the Mozart Bassoon Concerto last month, which was incredible to be able to share the stage with my colleagues in Fort Worth. We just started our tenure with our brand new music director, Robert Spano, which has been incredible. The orchestra's really taking to him well, and I think we're growing as an ensemble and as a musical family.
Well, I think they say to string players, like strength to your bow, strength to your breath.
My diaphragm.
Exactly. A couple of quick fire questions, but I already have a feeling what some of your answers might be. Mozart or Mendelssohn? Maybe not so straightforward. And you have to give a reason.
I think Mendelssohn is a great melodist. He writes incredible melodies, but Mozart's, I think, use of the bassoon in his writing is really profound. So I'll have to say Mozart.
That's a very profound answer.
Yes.
Beethoven or Brahms?
Beethoven.
And why is that?
I think Beethoven was really a trailblazer. He was really the bridge between the classical and the romantic. And I think his ability to really start the romantic period on such a vast trajectory is really impressive. And I think the way he uses the orchestra throughout the duration of his life is really, really special.
Concerto or quartet?
Quartet. playing chamber music is always more fun than playing a solo. Although being a soloist is fun, but being able to create a product with other people is really
very
special
good.
as well.
And then a last cheeky question: beer or wine?
Wine.
Wine, yes.
Absolutely, and we're in South Africa.
This is the wine capital of the country,
Yeah,
indeed.
exactly.
Yes. Joshua, so grateful for your time. Thanks for joining me. All these wonderful insights and advice you shared, and with the students and on stage and as a supporter at this festival. Hopefully, the first time of many here at the SICMF.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Brent, over to you. What's going on? Have people caught their breath yet after that magnificent playing?
Yes, thank you so much, John. I'm standing down in the foyer. I'm standing outside of the Janasch Hall, and we've actually put the live stream on in the Janasch Hall because there were a number of audience members who unfortunately weren't able to get a seat as it's a sold-out concert, and also some of the participants who are playing in this concert in the second half and were able to watch the first half of this concert on the live stream in the Janasch Hall. So definitely a great way to showcase the work we are doing at the live stream as well. I'm meeting up here with two participants, Jabulo and Sibongile. Jabulo, you just played in the first half of this concert. Sibongile, you'll be playing tomorrow night. This first half of the concert was absolutely phenomenal. I want to chat to you and find out what it was like playing on stage tonight.
Firstly, I would like to thank the viewers for viewing this. The concert was super phenomenal, playing on stage with the great violinist and the legend concert herself. So I'm so happy to be part of this orchestra this year. Thank you.
Absolutely, and you're a double bass player, and we have a valley of double basses this year. What's it like being in this powerful section of double basses?
It's so exciting, firstly, and I would like to say thank you to all the faculty members who gave me the chance to play with them this year, especially Roxanne. And it was so challenging at first because I was so nervous to I have to make sure that everything is on point practice-wise, notes, but she gave me the good tip, just relax, just play, because I know that you are super nervous to be playing with good musicians also on stage, and I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to everything.
Absolutely. Sibongile, I want to move over to you. You had quite the journey. Jabulo, don't walk away. I want to get back to you. I know you have to head to stage, but you had quite the journey to come to Stellenbosch. You traveled by bus from Kimberley. It's quite the journey. What was that like?
It was so long because I am an impatient person, but it was totally worth it because it's nothing compared to the experience here. So it was worth the wait.
Absolutely. And just when we met up a little bit earlier, you both told me it was the first time this year that you've both played in a faculty concert. So this is actually a really exciting edition in the festival where participants are able to join in with faculty concerts and play along with these amazing musicians. Jabulo, it was your first faculty concert. What was that experience like?
Firstly, I would say it was nerve-wracking at first, but I got too excited when time went on because I played in one of Van Dyck's pieces, which is a bit already new. And I also played in the Tchaikovsky, which is that one I had to sort of put my 150,000% focus in it because I didn't want to mess everything up because it was my first concert with the faculty, and yeah, it was so exciting thing.
It was amazing. I was sitting in the audience and it was phenomenal. Sibongile, you played in the Mackie last night. I don't think we've ever heard anything like that in the Endler Hall with the brass surrounding the audience. You were one of the players. What was that experience like?
It was so amazing. I was even getting jealous of the listeners because it felt like a movie theater, you know. And I really appreciate just that the fact that they made me play in the faculty and just having that experience of playing with professionals. I feel like it just boosts your confidence as a player, and it just makes you even want to get so much more better.
Absolutely. I'm not going to hold you any longer, Jabulo. I know you have to head back to stage for the second half of the concert. Thank you so much for joining me here. John, I'm going to head back up to you. As you can probably see, the Endler Hall foyer is busy emptying out and everyone is heading back into the hall for the second half of this concert. I'll head back to you, John.
Brilliant, Brent. Thank you so much. And I could so relate to what that young musician was saying with sometime when you're in the thick of it on the stage, and you just know the magic you're creating. You wish you could be a little detached. You could be out there in the audience, hearing what is coming together. and what a privilege, I guess, to be a musician. You sometimes get to be making the music and sometimes listening to it. So the Paganini a little bit earlier should have set you up very well for Rachmaninoff, and in particular for this last major work that he wrote, the Symphonic Dances, Opus 45, which were completed in 1940, so nearly 100 years ago when Rachmaninoff was living in New York. He was one of the last true composer virtuosos, but even he struggled at times to balance the demands of both performing and composing. The Symphonic Dances that we'll hear tonight followed a bit of a slump, preceded by the relative public failures of the Fourth Piano Concerto and the variations on the theme of Corelli. Rachmaninoff's last real public success had been some years before in 1934 with the Rhapsody on a theme of that theme by Paganini. The Symphonic Dances turned out to be Rachmaninoff's last major composition and is seen by many as an act of musical nostalgia for his life in Russia and his earlier efforts as a composer. The work was an instant success, audiences loved it, and it's become a staple of the repertoire ever since. One final highlight from yesterday evening's last faculty concert. Here is the third and final movement of Andrey Jolivet's Trumpet Concerto No. 2. You can feel the jazz in the air, as the composer might have experienced it in 1960s Paris, and that permeates the piece. In this performance, conducted by Julien Bénichou, and I know we shouldn't have favorites, but faculty favorite Marco Silva, trumpet.
Good evening. Whoa. Having fun? Yeah. It's my great privilege to be here and working with these young musicians, and I can't tell you how much they inspire me every day. and I hope that I inspired them also. I just want to give special thanks to Nina and Peter, who make everything possible. Please give them a round of applause. What you guys did here is truly amazing, and I hope it's for generations to come and to produce much, much better musicians. But also I would like to thank our sponsors and our audiences. Without you, we don't have any musics to share. So this is our interpretation of Rachmaninoff Symphonic Dances. Enjoy.
Rachmaninoff's last great masterpiece, the Symphonic Dances, Opus 45, coming to you live from the Endler Hall in Stellenbosch in this first student orchestral concert as part of the 2023 SICMF. Rebecca Tong, the conductor there, Joanna Kulk, the concert mistress, and if you know Rachmaninoff's music, you would have heard quotations from the All-Night Vigil, the First Symphony, and that Dies Irae, that musical signature, that Catholic chant of death that he brings back again and again in his music. And there's Rebecca complimenting so many of the players here tonight. The wind's getting special. Special appreciation. Principal flute, clarinet, oboe, and bassoon, and the saxophone that makes such an unusual appearance in this symphonic work. Not a standard orchestral instrument, as you know. The French horns, yes, they get their moment too. And the trumpets, of course. Lots of brass. You'll notice how the orchestra has expanded from the Mozart we heard earlier and the Tchaikovsky. But all the winds and brass and the percussion getting their moment in the sun. A very busy piece of music. And to think these players barely knew one another, all this music a week ago. And here it has all come together so professionally. Johanna Kulk, our concert mistress, and all the string players getting their moment of recognition. Rebecca Tong, the conductor. The Festival Symphony Orchestra, ladies and gentlemen, of the 2023 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival, coming to you live from the Endler Hall. Bravo to the conductor and all the students for their energy, enthusiasm, receptiveness, willingness to learn over the past week. They can be very proud of their achievements. And the best bit is they get to do it all over again on Sunday. Sunday afternoon, the final concert of this Chamber Music Festival will end with the Symphonic Dances once again. The audience on their feet, enormous appreciation. Almost seems a pity to disband the group. They should just play it again. I'll see you outside in the foyer in just a moment to say goodnight. Well, that's it for our first orchestral concert here at the 2023 SICMF. Rebecca Tong leading the festival Symphony Orchestra to victory in much-loved music by Mozart, Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff. And incidentally, you'll be able to hear the Rachmaninoff again on Sunday in the late afternoon as the final work in this year's Chamber Music Festival. Now, the festival concert orchestra will be on the stage in the Endler tomorrow at 8 p.m. for music by Liszt and Mussorgsky, the Grieg Piano Concerto in A minor with Anastasia Markina as soloist, and finally Respighi's showpiece, Hinds of Rome. And of course, we have our ensemble concerts by the students at 1 p.m. and at 5 p.m. tomorrow, and a clarinet masterclass with Yao Guang Chai at 3 p.m., who will also be in conversation with oboist Dwight Parry at 7. Just 2 days of chamber music magic left at this year's SICMF. Don't miss out. And if you joined us tonight, please engage with us. Let us know where you're listening from by saying hello in the comments. Until tomorrow night, this is John Woodland and the team signing off. Take care and good night.